Hey everyone, welcome back here to my channel. Okay, first things first, please excuse the spit up stains that are all over my shirt. It's the end of the day, my kids are in bed. This is the only second of the day that I had to film this video, so you'll just have to excuse my looks just this once. Probably more than once. Probably like every time you watch a video of mine. If you read the description or the title of this video, you're probably thinking, hold on, you guys don't have rules in your house? We do, but they're a little bit untraditional and not your typical traditional household rules. We have something called shared agreements. So today we're going to talk about what shared agreements are, how they're more effective than having rules, and how you can simply create these in your home and start implementing them today. Before we get into all of that, first I want to give you just a little bit of a background about me and my experience with shared agreements. You may or may not know, I have a degree in early childhood development with an emphasis in early childhood education. I've studied a wide range of topics in regards to child development. Everything from physical development to the social development to the emotional development, a wide range of areas. So I have a bit of knowledge on this area, and I've also seen this implemented both in public school settings, private school settings, and then also here in my very own home and with other children in the community of homeschoolers that we are in. And one of the things I'd like to cover today is more of the behavioral side of child development and how we can get these kids of ours to behave in desirable ways. So how can we do that? Maybe you're having trouble with your children and them not being able to follow the rules that you've set in place and they're just rebelling, or maybe they're a little bit younger and they're just, the struggle is real, those toddler tantrums and all those things that you might be struggling with as a parent with your young children. Shared agreements are something I want to share with you guys in hopes that it will make a more peaceful atmosphere within your home, as I know it has in mine. Shared agreements can be powerful yet simple tools for encouraging baseline behavioral expectations. So as I've said, I have been a teacher both in the private and public school setting where similar agreements exist and have proven to be effective communication and learning techniques. So let's make this happen at your home in 5 easy steps. Let's get into it. Agreements are a research-based approach to establishing positive behavior, individual accountability, and community responsibility. They level set expectations and minimize family conflict while limiting what sometimes feels like limitless power struggles between adults and children. A child who has a strong understanding of clear and consistent behavioral expectations will have a more secure feeling within a social and group setting. Agreements can also clarify each individual family member's responsibility to one another. So it's your agreements, your choice. It doesn't have to be complicated. Don't overthink it. So here's how we do it in 5 easy steps. Step 1, create agreements collaboratively. So for example, we were having a lot of issues with arts and craftsy types of materials. Is arts and craftsy a word? I don't know. I made it up. Arts and crafts materials that were just strewn all over the house. The kids have plenty of space upstairs to do anything and everything their little hearts desire. Play, use their toys. They have desks up there, plenty of space for arts and crafts, but somehow all of these things kept being dragged down the stairs, all over the kitchen, all over the living room, all over the house. So we decided we needed to establish some agreements around how and where to use our arts and craft supplies. Oftentimes, shared agreements come about when you realize that there is an issue or a problem that needs to be solved within your household. Then you can set forth with these shared agreements. So we sat down together with our arts and crafts bins in front of us so the kids can kind of see the materials and the things that we were talking about and what we needed to do to create a enjoyable, safe space that we could utilize these materials. You'll want to start the conversation with your kids and let them know that here is the problem and we need to think of some solutions and some things that we can agree on so that we can all use these materials in a way that's safe and enjoyable for everyone. You might be surprised what your kids can come up with, but if they're having trouble getting started, don't be afraid to go ahead and lead the conversation. until they pick up on what's going on and then can contribute as well. So for my kiddos, I let them know the problem was that our arts and crafts supplies were getting all over the house, and that there were a few times when we had used some of our supplies in a way that we should not have. Cutting hair with scissors was one of the things that we needed to discuss, and also that crayons and markers and things like that are for arts and crafts supplies only, and not to be used on our house, on the walls, on the carpet, anything like that. So give them a few questions to get them started. You might ask them, what do you think would be a safe way for us to use our arts and crafts supplies? Then they could go on to tell you things like my kids said, which were, scissors should be used like this. And they showed me the way to use scissors and the way to carry scissors and things like that. Okay, great idea. I'm going to jot that down. You write it down on your notepad that you have with you. So you're writing down their little ideas and their agreements and expectations that they have in their minds for themselves. I didn't get any of the organic footage of the kids and I talking about and discussing our shared agreements around the arts and crafts supplies because it was just me, the baby was sleeping, my husband was working, and I just couldn't get the camera out in time enough for us to get it on video. We were already just really deep into the discussion before I realized I wasn't recording any of it. And so I don't have that footage for you, but I do have a little bit of footage from Pierce and I kind of going over what we had discussed for our shared agreements, and he wanted to share that here with you guys. What are some good safe places where we can do arts and crafts?
Well, I'm going to show you these rules. These are some rules. So those are some great rules in me. I got a few more rules, 5 more rules. So 5 more rules, everyone. The next rule is called make sure you clear your area just like you clear your eating area, but your arts and crafts area.
I like that.
And next rule.
So when we're done, we should clean our things up? Okay, I like that.
Next, make sure if you're using glue or scissors, you need your mom or dad to be with you.
I think that's a safe rule.
So you
check
don't
with mom and dad?
drop the glue and glue something to you or cut yourself. So that's why you should be with a grown-up.
Okay, so I like that. So check with mom and dad if you want to use glue or scissors.
Yeah, and of course, don't color on your hair. Color on paper.
Okay, so coloring is for our art supplies only?
Yeah.
Okay.
And make sure if you could make some rules up, that should be so great. And now you know some more rules.
Okay, awesome. I love it. I'm writing these all down. What if something happens and we are not following our shared agreements?
That means we have to put every arts and crafts away, and if you make those stuffy arts and crafts, kind of like my art crafts that are stuffy things and some are just faces. They came from Up Movie. I made them my own. You don't have to really put those away. Whatever you made already, you don't have to put those away, but you have to put the other arts and crafts stuff away.
Okay, so our agreement is that if we're not following our shared agreements, that we need to put our arts and crafts things away for a while? Is that what you're telling me?
Actually, I made up one last rule.
Okay.
Do not color on your house. Never color on all houses that you live in.
Okay, I like that idea too. Okay. Tell them about the coloring on the walls and doors and stuff. Do you have some advice to share with us on that?
Well,
Has that happened before? Have you ever colored on a wall or a door?
well, in our townhouse, there's a story. We were in this townhouse and I knew that I had some clowns that I had been hiding, and I colored on each door. And on Mom's and Dad's door, I colored a spirit guy that was a skeleton head with an exit bones on it. So I don't really want to talk about much more about it.
No, you don't want to talk much more about it.
Yeah, because the more story I tell you, the better you might not like it. Because you want to hear the baddest part. And after I colored on there, I colored on everything.
Yeah.
I colored on our white circle table.
Yeah, it was a lot of coloring, wasn't it?
Yeah, I colored everywhere.
So then what
on that
happened?
one in there. So I colored, and guess what? On treats, I colored treats too.
So then what happened? What, like, you colored on all the doors and some of the walls and things, and then what did we do?
We had to wash them off with the soap thing. And guess what? It gets a little bad because they don't see that I hided these crowns and colored my whole room, and then I tried to erase it and wouldn't erase, so I used 20 erasers to get it all off before Mom and Dad saw it.
Confessions of a 5-year-old. Yeah, so that happened
And I was 4 years old.
when he was 4. That did happen. So I think that you've learned a lot though, because you gave me some really good advice on how we can make our space safe and fun and enjoyable for everybody, even the parents. Thanks for the advice. Oh, give me one more. Yeah.
And look, he wants to make his own video. Oh, yeah.
So after you've sat down with your kids and created your agreements together, again, if they're having trouble coming up with things that you want to be a part of the agreements, or they're not really understanding the process, go ahead and lead the way and ask some questions, open-ended questions for them to get them started. So things like, what do you think would be a safe way for us to use these materials? Or where do you think would be a safe place for us to use these materials? And then also you want to implement, is there a consequence? So, well, what if we don't use our materials that way? Or what if we decide to do this with our scissors? And what if we decide to cut, something that's not supposed to be cut with our scissors? And then let them come up with a consequence. And so my son, who is 5, said that the consequence should be that our arts and crafts supplies are put away for a while. So I said, that's a great consequence. And I think it fits the action. So we jotted that down to be part of our agreements. So you can be holistic about this process. It doesn't have to be super specific, just some overarching agreements and things that you guys want to implement in your household that would help to mitigate some of the behaviors that are less desirable when it comes to whatever specific topic you are creating shared agreements around. They don't have to be in any specific order or written out in any specific way. Just keep it simple, which takes us to step number 2. Keep it simple and positive and be specific. The 3 to 5 comprehensive agreements are better than this huge exhaustive list of things that the kids have to remember. So resist the urge to go overboard and keep it minimal. Aim for easy to remember, action-oriented agreements. Make sure that the agreements cover a majority of situations and pain points. So if there are some things that you for sure want to make sure get on your list, don't be afraid to lead into those conversations. Like the cutting the hair with scissors. I led into that conversation. What are some safe ways that we can use our scissors? And then the kids then let me know we can cut paper, we can cut tissue paper, we can cut our arts and crafts. Anything in our arts and crafts bin, we can cut. I'd encourage you to use concrete language to cover a broad variety of situations, but also it's very specific. So rather than saying be nice, which is really general, you want to tell them use helpful words. Another example would be, instead of no hitting, you would want to say, let's keep our feelings and bodies safe. So I guess in a way you could say you're telling them what you want them to do versus what you don't want them to do. So stay away from the don'ts. Don't hit, don't yell, don't cut your hair. Rather than saying those things, you want to tell them what you want the behavior to be. So use gentle hands. And then of course, use the scissors for arts and craft supplies only. Use that positive reinforcement. Let them know what you want them to do versus what you don't want them to do. I'll have a video in the description box below that focuses on language and helping our kids to understand what we want them to do versus what we don't want them to do. So after you've completed step number 2, you've jotted down all the things that your kids have expressed to you that would be great agreements surrounding whatever the topic may be. For us, it was arts and crafts supplies. You've created the agreements collaboratively, kept it simple and positive, and you've been specific. And now you can move on to step number 3. Make it visible. You'll want to type up the agreements. That's what I did. chicken scratch was not going to be legible to anyone, not even me. So I went ahead and typed up the agreements and then printed those out. After you've printed the agreements out, take it back to your kids, let them see the finished product, and then leave a line or a space for them at the bottom that they can sign the agreements. That this is something that they have agreed to follow and help others in the family follow as well. We all hold each other accountable. And then you'll want to take the agreements and display them in a space that is visible to your kids while interacting in that area with any materials or whatever it is that you have created your agreements around. So for us, I decided to display the agreements right on top of the arts and crafts paper bin so that the kids have it visible to them when they're interacting with the materials that the agreements are based on. Moving on to step number 4. Celebrate. Whenever you see your children complying to the agreements that they have created, make sure to take note of that. Let them know, hey, I saw you using your scissors on your arts and crafts supplies, just like we talked about in our agreements. Great job. Or maybe you see them picking up their arts and crafts supplies when they're finished doing their work, and that was a part of our agreement. Hey, I saw you pick up your things when you were done. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Doing this will deepen your child's understanding of the meaning of the agreements. It'll reinforce positive behavior and strengthen your relationship with your child. Another way to celebrate would be to have conversations in your day-to-day activities. So maybe it's during dinner time or during your bedtime conversations. You're talking about the agreements that you made and how you saw them implement those throughout their day, and just giving them a little bit more reassurance and a little bit more appreciation for their understanding of those agreements and how they've shown that to you. You can also celebrate by creating something similar to a sibling love jar. So if you are noticing your kids doing things that you discussed on your agreements, you can have a container, a jar, whatever, maybe a bowl, and little ornaments, or it can be anything, marbles, anything you want to put in the jar, and you notice your kid doing something off of your agreements or showing that they really understand the agreements because they're following the things that you guys have talked about. Address that with them, celebrate that with them, give them the, let's just say a marble, to put in the jar. And once they fill the jar up, you guys can celebrate together as a family, like, wow, look at all of these great things that we've done. We've been following our family agreements. We've had an enjoyable, safe space for everyone to have fun in. And look how much we have done that. And once you fill the jar up, discuss something that you guys want to do as a family. A lot of the times my kids will say they want to have a dance party, or they want to do, one time they wanted to do glow sticks in the bathtub, which I thought was pretty cool. So we've had a couple of different kinds of celebrations in our house. Moving on to the last step number 5, revise and review. So if you haven't already set any kind of consequences or actions related to when an agreement is broken or not followed, you'll want to do that now. So my kids came up with their consequence, if you will, while we were making the agreements. Because I posed the question. I said, well, what if we don't follow these agreements? What do you think we should do about that? They gave me a consequence of putting the arts and crafts supplies away for a while. So if you guys haven't set that in place, maybe you don't know what the consequence should be just yet, then when a family member does not follow an agreement, you'll want to address that then, and you can revise your agreements and add any consequences that need to be added. Or it may be the case that your child just needs to be reminded of the agreement and offer them an opportunity to redo. Be flexible but consistent in how you choose to handle broken agreements. Establishing consistency and logical consequences will instill a respect for the agreements. Family agreements aren't set in stone. They can and should be changed based on your family's experiences and as your child enters different developmental phases. So when you first create family agreements, be strategic. Guide your family in the direction that will address common pain points. as certain behaviors improve or new challenging behaviors occur, call a family meeting, readdress your agreements, and kind of go from there. Get a feel for what needs to be changed, what needs to be added, so on and so forth. So that's all that I have for you today. I hope this information was helpful. I hope that you guys can sit down as a family, come up with some shared agreements that can help you to have a more peaceful and enjoyable environment for everyone under your roof. Thank you so much for watching today. Please remember to like and subscribe. We'd love to have you back here for more videos, more fun, more adventure. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.